Once we've clarified our messaging, we move on to creating content that is both clear and optimized for SEO. And this means integrating targeted keywords naturally into our story-driven content. And when I say naturally, I don't mean you're trying to force all these keywords so that your content feels really heavy. It's not readable and it's not helpful because that's nobody wants to read that. So the goal is really to create content that both engages the reader and then tells Google that your website is relevant and an authoritative source on a specific subject.
Hey there, you're listening to the Priority Pursuit podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping small business owners define, maintain, and pursue both their personal and business priorities so they can build lives and businesses they love. I'm your host, Victoria Rayburn, and we are changing things up this week because today we actually want to share Kelly's recent interview on the Marketing Made Simple podcast, which is StoryBrand's podcast with you. Now, on Priority Pursuit, we often talk about the importance of clear messaging and the importance of SEO, but I don't know if we've ever talked about how to use the two hand in hand. You see, if you want your marketing to work, you have to make sure your messaging is clear, which is so much of what Donald Miller and his team teach over at StoryBrand and through Business Made Simple. However, clear messaging alone isn't enough. If you want to reach your ideal customers and grow your business, especially in a local market, your website has to show up in Google search results. After all, 97% of people use Google when they're in need of a local product or service. 90% of consumers who search for local businesses make purchases within a week, and SEO drives 1,000% more traffic than organic social media. So basically, even if you have clear customer-focused messaging, if your website and content don't rank well on Google, you're missing out on business simply because your ideal clients can't find you. With this in mind, I am thrilled to share Kelly's recent interview with April Sunshine Hawkins on the Marketing Made Simple podcast. In this episode, Kelly, who is a StoryBrand certified guide, explains how you can combine the StoryBrand framework and best search engine optimization practices to reach, attract, and convert your ideal clients into paying customers.
All right, Kelly, I am really excited to talk to you today because this is one of the most asked questions I get. What do I do about SEO, April?
Right.
What do I do?
No pressure.
If I am a small business owner and I've gone through the StoryBrand framework and now I need to figure out my SEO strategy as well. I mean, people are really stressed out about it, Kelly. And I think that you know and understand that. Why do you feel like people are so stressed about this particular topic?
In all reality, I think it's because there's so much advice out there and small businesses don't know what to do. So they end up doing, one marketing tactic after another and nothing really works. And they just feel like they're wasting time and money. And then SEO being something that is kind of like this, oh my gosh, I don't know about this thing. It's all back end stuff or what do I do? And it's like this big spider web of stuff anymore, right? That I think that's why it's kind of a scary thing. So I'm really glad that we're talking about it today because we can bring kind of some simplicity to this for small business owners.
Yes. Well, I know you've been using the StoryBrand framework since 2016, before the Building a StoryBrand book even came out. And so you are someone who's been utilizing this framework. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about how StoryBrand and SEO just really are a match made in heaven. And then I want you to get into how you help walk people through a process and give them a plan that isn't the spider web that you mentioned before.
Yeah. So kind of like you, one of the things that we notice is that people associate StoryBrand with just writing clear messaging, that gets people to do the thing you want them to do, like to make a purchase or download a guide or schedule a discovery call, those types of things. But in reality, StoryBrand is, it is so much more. And when a small business takes the time to identify their best customers and create clear messaging by using the StoryBrand framework, they have most all the information that they need in order to create an effective SEO strategy, but they don't even know it. And the fact of the matter is that if they want to grow in a local market, their websites have to show up in Google searches. So I want to be clear that I know that there are a lot of moving parts to a successful SEO strategy, but it really does have the power to do some really, really big things for local small businesses. And because when people intentionally look for something on Google, most are ready to make a purchase. So when someone's website is one of the first solutions that customers see, and then they click over to the website, and because of StoryBrand, they get all of the information that they need, they will more than likely, buy from or work with, that person. But if they can't find you, then it doesn't really matter what's on your website.
That's right. That's right. Your customers, they're out there. They're sitting at their computers. They've got their credit card in their hand, or they've got their calendar pulled up, ready to schedule a call, and they're looking for you. But if you don't show up on that page one, dun, 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 like you're not going to be found.
You're not going to be found. So in an effort, especially for today and like kind of what we do within the agency all the time, is I want to simplify the SEO process that we go through if you think that would be beneficial.
So you can hear the Hebrew maker, like their wheels are like, I cannot turn these wheels any faster. Kelly, give me this information right now. Like, please, please and thank you.
Okay. So there are 4 phases that we actually use. And the first one is understanding your audience and creating clear messaging, right? Always hands down, first thing that we always do. For any type of marketing, plug for StoryBrand and everything else, that if you're not doing this, this is the thing that you should do always, no matter what. I don't care what anybody else tells you. All of your marketing efforts are a complete waste of time if you don't clarify your messaging.
That's right. So you gotta.
That's my soapbox for that.
I think that's ours as well, right? Like we want people to use the StoryBrand framework, the brand script tool that we have for them, so that they're like, okay, I've done it. I've thought about who my customer is, and now I've created a clear message to welcome and draw them into a story. I'm using the power of story to do this. So I'm glad this is step number 1 in your plan as well. All right. What's next after that?
So step number 2 is building a strong SEO foundation with SEO optimized content. Third is creating content that drives engagement. And then 4th is actually promoting that content so it can enhance your SEO. So if you want, we can just kind of quickly walk through it, because I think that if we can simplify this for everybody listening, they're going to go, oh, this SEO thing is not as hard as I thought it is, because you literally do a ton of work when you're clarifying your messaging. So if we want to jump into that, really the first step is to deeply understand your audience. So now with StoryBrand, we make sure that we're speaking directly to our audience needs and the desires of the customers, which in terms, it helps us identify keywords that they're using and then identifying the information that they're searching for. And this is critical because when your content reflects what your customers are searching for, not only do they get what they want, Google recognizes that and it rewards people with higher rankings. And that's important, right? Because you can't be on page 3. You need to be on page 1 for people to be able to find your amazingly developed story branded website. So, and then in creating SEO based content, because of the StoryBrand framework, we also already know that we need to shift our messaging away from us, the company, into them, the customers, making our customers the hero and us as the guide, right? Like that's one of the biggest mind shifts that our customers have to go through, because they want to tell people all the time that, hey, we do all these great things, we're a plumber and we can fix this and we can do all of that. But if we write content that way, people aren't going to read about how you replace a faucet. If it's, it's like reading the back of like a 19-page manual, right? So when we make this shift, it not only resonates, the content will only resonate with the audience emotionally, but it also aligns with SEO best practices, because Google wants to give people relevant and helpful information. So step number 1, clarify your messaging, utilize the StoryBrand framework, and I promise that it will help you figure out all the other things that you need to do here moving on. So moving on to number 2, which is, so once we've clarified our messaging, we move on to creating content that is both clear and optimized for SEO. And this means integrating targeted keywords naturally into our story-driven content. And when I say naturally, I don't mean you're trying to force all these keywords so that your content feels really heavy. It's not readable and it's not helpful, because that's nobody wants to read that. So the goal is really to create content that both engages the reader and then tells Google that your website is relevant and an authoritative source on a specific subject. So it's kind of twofold. So I really want to drive home the fact that your website is the cornerstone of your SEO efforts, and it can be your most powerful marketing tool. So a clear story brand driven SEO optimized website ensures that both visitors and search engines can quickly understand what you offer and how you solve your customer's problem. And then this clarity improves your user experience, it reduces bounce rates, and it increases the time users spend on your site, and all of which are positive signals to Google. So now if you have no idea what I'm talking about when I'm talking about keywords, like don't freak out. Especially on, oh my gosh, how do I pick them and how do I use them? We've actually created a free guide called How to Use Keywords to Improve Your Small Business's SEO. And you can easily download that for free at treefrogmarketing.com/keywords, because at StoryBrand, I think we all love our helpful guides.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And I would love for you to just give us a little taste of what's in that guide, because let's say that I am a plumber, because you were mentioning somebody's not going to read a manual about how to do the thing, if they're going to try to fix their, toilet themselves or their garbage disposal themselves, they're more likely to go to like YouTube and watch a video and see if they could do it themselves. And so having that kind of content is great. I'm curious about what you're listening for whenever somebody has created a brand script or you're helping them create a brand script. What are you listening for with those keywords? Like what? And then once you find those keywords, how do you help them create this content that you're talking about?
Absolutely. So it's keep your ears open, because people will always tell you what they want, right? So they do it through, these are the questions that I always have to answer. As a plumber, when people call, these are the things that they want to know, or this is the problem that they always, that they're always having. And maybe if we can just walk them through this process of maybe clearing their drain themselves, we're going to become more valuable to them because they were able to do it themselves and it took 5 seconds, but they didn't know how to do it, right? So we kind of look for those. We listen for those types of those topics. And then in the guide, we go through how you can actually find those keywords. So utilizing like the Google AdWords keyword tool. So you can pop in a long tail keyword and then it'll give you how many times, people are searching for that, or maybe give you some other recommendations. And that helps you kind of build your keyword list, because you may have 5 or 6 blogs or videos surrounding how to clear a drain, and you can use different keywords for that. So that guide goes through, one, how do you identify keywords? And then how do you use them? And then it goes through some of the technical things, like what's the difference between a short tail keyword and a long tail keyword? Because short tail keywords would be like plumber. And if you're a plumber in Indianapolis, Indiana, it's going to be harder to rank for just the word plumber than, residential plumber in Indianapolis, Indiana. So that guide kind of helps you, one, learn how to identify keywords, but then also how to use those, in terms of how to use them in your website, how do you use them in your content, how can you use them in sales funnels, those types of things. So it's a pretty comprehensive guide for people that are wanting to be able to create their story-based content, but then also have it be very, very effective from an SEO perspective as well.
What would you do with an extra 45 minutes every workday? That would save you 16 hours a month, or roughly 8 days a year. And over the course of your career, we're talking about over 1 year of your life saved. All that time back. Well, many independent business owners spend far more than 45 minutes a day on administrative tasks. And with HoneyBook, you can get that time back and then some. HoneyBook lets you easily manage projects, contracts, invoices, scheduling, and client communication, saving you time and allowing you to better serve your clients. For a discount on your first year of HoneyBook, visit honeybook.com and subscribe with the code PriorityPursuit. 45 minutes a day adds up quickly. Use it to focus on what matters most.
Many small businesses don't have an effective marketing strategy, and because of this, they try one tactic after another without seeing results. This not only prevents consistent business growth, it makes managing marketing efforts more difficult than it should be. As a marketing agency for small businesses, we understand how frustrating it can be when hard work doesn't deliver the results that you want. Because of this, TreeFrog has developed a proven 4-step marketing system that will help any small business grow. On our website, you can also schedule a 30-minute discovery call to discuss working with TreeFrog to build a marketing strategy that will allow your small business to finally see the growth you've been working so hard to achieve.
I can hear our hero maker's brain thinking maybe this thought of, oh yeah, I do answer this question all the time. And if I created a video or if I created a piece of marketing collateral that answers this question, that is really going to help me be a guide in this space. Because if I do it in a quick, clear, concise way, people go, oh, thank you for A, helping me with my problem. And B, I'm going to be more likely to call you whenever this is done. And then, of course, I love all of the things that you were talking about the keywords. And I have some more curiosities about that, but let's get through the plan. Okay. So you've walked us through the first 2 steps.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what do you do after you've created some collateral?
Yeah. So phase 3 is where you're actually creating content that drives engagement. So StoryBrand principles guide us in creating the clear content that makes that kind of takes customers through this buying journey from awareness to decision. Because again, if we don't tell them what to do, if we don't move them along the path, they more than likely won't buy or take that next step, right? So this type of content is not only useful for the customer, but it also signals Google that your site provides valuable, relevant information, and that can help boost your SEO as well. So we also want to be able to utilize the audience identity part of the StoryBrand elements when creating our sales funnel, because we want to be able to guide the customer from their first interaction with the content through making a purchase. And this journey is critical for keeping the users engaged, which also improves your site's SEO metrics like dwell time and click-through rates. Like, we don't want content on our site that we have some really good ads that people are linking, that are linking to our website. And then people are like, oh, I don't want that information. And then they bounce off of your site because Google will be like, oh, you have a really high bounce rate. You must be spamming people in there. So that's why creating this quality content associated with the great keywords is highly important for that. And then our last step, which we kind of talked a little bit about, is once we have the content and the SEO strategy in place, it's really time to promote it. So whether that's through social media or email marketing or paid ads, we ensure that clear, compelling StoryBrand messaging is consistent across all platforms, because this not only helps with brand recognition, but it also strengthens your site SEO by driving consistent, high quality traffic. And that is key. So you need to be found, and then you need to make sure that the traffic that you're driving to your website actually stays and does the thing that you want them to do. So hopefully kind of those 4 steps kind of took this giant beast of, oh my gosh, what do I do with all of this SEO stuff, and just kind of condensed it into a little bit more of a manageable perspective.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I would love for you to just repeat what the 4 steps are. And then I would love for you to tell us a couple of client stories. Like, okay, I was working with this local business and we walked them through these 4 steps. And this was what was really surprising during that process. Oh, we didn't really realize we found a keyword that, wow, no one was utilizing. Or I would love to hear those like kind of surprising moments that happened to you for a couple of your customers. So yeah, reiterate what the 4 steps are, and then tell us some client stories.
So there are 4 steps, but there are really 3 elements that I want everybody to keep in mind when it comes to SEO. So you need to perform a handful of tasks one time to make the powers at Google happy. And those things are the technical things, like submitting your sitemap to Google and creating a Google business profile and submitting your information to online directories. So there are technical things that need to be done from an SEO perspective. But then next, when you need to be able to create content that serves your audience well by creating consistent and helpful things such as blogs, videos, and sales funnels that are optimized with the right keywords. So again, that's where the keyword aspect comes in. It's where utilizing your audience strategy comes in, because you're going to know what to write about to attract your best customers. And then again, really utilizing your clear messaging and your keywords and having your website optimized so that when your ideal customer does find you through, a search on Google or social media or whatever it is that the information that they find is relevant and helpful. So those are the key things that I really want people to remember, because for local businesses, optimizing your Google business profile and gathering like online reviews and all of those types of things is part of a winning SEO strategy. And it can do so many big things for your organization, because in reality, a lot of local small businesses don't do this. So even if you start with something like clarifying your messaging and utilizing the correct keywords on your website, Google's going to start seeing that, and your rankings are going to start growing just because the competition isn't doing it, which, we found out that we worked with we work a lot with the trades industries, because we work with a lot of the service industries. And we had a client that was, they did like handyman services. So they've been in business for about a year. They worked with another agency that, created a website for them that was doing marketing, but they did zero SEO strategy. So then when we connected with them, we're like, we really need to think about going through the StoryBrand aspect of it, because your messaging isn't clear, because you're basically saying you do everything that any other handyman does, right? So there's no way to distinguish you from somebody else, which is why, one of the reasons that, we're the OG StoryBrand people, because it just makes so much sense. So in reality, we were able to work with them. We clarified their messaging. We redeveloped their website. We did a lot of the keyword research for their SEO stuff, and we implemented all of the SEO things like their Google My Business, making sure that that was optimized. There are things like, from a technical side of putting name, address, and phone number into all of their online directories, because Google looks at that as citations, and they say, okay, if you are in 100 different places and your website's the same and your name and your address is the same, and you say that you do these things, then I go to your website and your website says that you do these things. And then the content on your website says that you do these things. I'm going to trust that you actually do these things. So when somebody searches locally for that thing, Google then starts to have some of that brand trust and say, hey, I trust that you're doing what you say you're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and serve somebody this result. So in doing a lot of that stuff, they went from not being found at all in Lafayette, Indiana, which is kind of a smaller market, but it's still a decent sized town, to within 6 months, they were number one in maps, and they were number one in a lot of the different search results, like handyman, handyman near me, those types of things. And you got to start there. So
I can imagine that this handyman who had no SEO services on his website before was like, thank you so much, because the handyman most of the time does not want to put their head down and learn how to do SEO. They actually just want somebody to do it for them, and they want it to work.
Right. Because they're so busy doing all of the other things that they don't have time to become marketing experts themselves. So But, StoryBrand positions people that if they are doing it themselves, that they can probably create an SEO strategy that is better than most of their competitors. So, unless it's something like, auto insurance, that's going to be a little bit harder to rank number one on Google when you're having to fight all of the big dogs. But you may be able to, find those specific long tail keywords that you can rank for, that kind of niche down who you're talking to. And then that strategy can help you, be really successful. So in, the story that I told about the handyman, we have all kinds of those stories with, plumbing and dog grooming companies and, auto detailing shops and all of that. So I think one of our favorite stories is that utilizing what we call the flywheel marketing method, which is basically taking all of this information and then you create these systems that that you build your foundational elements through clarifying your messaging and building a lead generating website. And then the content and your sales funnels, you build those from an optimized perspective, and then you utilize your social media and your Google ads or whatever to help promote it. They were able to grow by 800% in over 2 years. So, and a lot of it has to do with their local SEO strategy, because they were outperforming everyone because, one, they were getting found on Google. And then two, once people landed on their website, they had the information that they needed. They were able to easily book an appointment and those types of things. So I guess I just want to reiterate that StoryBrand is so much more than just clarifying your message.
It absolutely is. And I can just hear JJ on the back end of this episode going, oh, listener, hero maker, you now have permission to make your SEO strategy really easy and really simple and not really complicated at all. Like, this is something that people can do on their own, and it pairs so well with the StoryBrand framework. What do you say to people who are like, I think that because we pared down our messaging so much, we clarified our message and made it so simple, now we don't have enough content on our website. What do you say to people who are kind of afraid of kind of tossing some things overboard that they used to have on their website because they went through the process of clarifying their message?
That is a great excuse for blogging. So the more information that you want to tell people, identify those keywords of the topics that you want to be able to present or maybe to expound upon, and then blog. Create a content marketing strategy where you're like, you know what, my competitors blog once a month, so I'm going to blog every other week. Or maybe my competitors don't blog at all, so I can just dedicate the time to be able to blog once a month. Or, maybe write a white paper about it, or create a YouTube channel where you're, again, utilizing keywords, but you're giving people more of that information that you feel like they need. But I highly, highly, highly encourage people to go back and follow that StoryBrand framework. Because if you just start creating videos that, sound like a technical manual, nobody's going to listen to them anyway, and you're just wasting your time. So follow that strategy. Like, here's the main problem that I want to address. Show some empathy, give your authority, and then give them, that positive outcome. And then, position yourself as the guide that can help them get there. So even when you're creating videos and you're creating blogs and all of that, make sure that you're following that framework, because it will be so much more effective, that. So when people say, oh, I don't want to blog, I'm like, well, it's to your point exactly of, well, you wanted to put 92 other pages on your website. Here's a way that you can do that.
That's right. There's a spot for it. There is a spot for it. It's going to be great.
Yes. We don't like saying no. We like saying, how about if we do it this way?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So will you go through your 4-step plan that you outlined earlier in the episode, just to help people reiterate it in their mind? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, super simple. And if they do this, their business is going to grow.
Absolutely. So first thing you want to do is you want to understand your audience, and you want to create clear messaging. Then you want to build a strong SEO foundation through SEO optimized content and your website. And then you want to create content that drives engagement. Like, you need to write about things that people are interested in, the information that they want to know, not necessarily the information that you want to tell them, right? And then the fourth is actually promoting that content, because if you can get people to engage with that content via social media or on your website, that's going to also help enhance your SEO.
Perfection. Well, Kelly, I so appreciate you coming on, talking to people about what small businesses can do to boost their SEO in a non-technical jargon way so that they feel confident about moving forward. So appreciate you coming on and being a StoryBrand certified guide and helping others win the day with this kind of strategy.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Well, there you have it. While there are a lot of moving parts to building a successful marketing strategy, when your website and content speak directly to your ideal customers and rank well on Google, you're almost certain to see business growth. Now, like Kelly mentioned in this episode, if you want to optimize your website for search engines, one of the first things that you have to understand and prioritize is keywords. To learn how to choose and use strategic keywords, check out our keyword guide, which you can download for free via the link in the show notes or at treefrogmarketing.com/keywords. Friend, stop chasing business. Instead, make sure your ideal customers can find you on Google and that your website and content speak directly to them. On that note, thank you for tuning into another episode of the Priority Pursuit podcast, or I guess in this case, thank you for tuning into Marketing Made Simple. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope you'll take a moment to share it with your small business friends, to explore the mentioned resources, and that you'll join us next week for even more marketing, boundary, and priority-driven tactics you can use to build a life and small business that you love.